Welcome to the Common Man Football Show. My name is James Coburn, and today's episode, we're going to be poking a dead horse again. We're talking about Blake Bortles in terms of his analytics profile. Now, Blake Bortles, of course, is someone who's going into a very crucial year. The fourth year is really big for quarterbacks. Actually, the third year is actually really big for quarterbacks, but disregard that. But for the most part, he's going into sort of a area where people are starting to question him. Should the Jaguars move on? Did they make a mistake? All that kind of stuff with Blake Bortles. He definitely has been able to put up raw stats in terms of yardage and stuff like that, but it hasn't exactly translated into wins. And this video is really going to go over what he looked like coming out of college in terms of what are some of the indicators of high-quality NFL players coming out of college. We're going to be looking at high school production data, college production data, and we're also going to be looking at NFL data in terms of what he looks like in the NFL. What are some of the shortfalls of him based on his data? And you could definitely say that these are shortfalls based on the team, but ultimately you have to, at some point, no matter what quarterback you are, put up or shut up. You know, you either perform like the quarterback that people think you are, or you don't. And it's not to say that there are quarterbacks who definitely, if you put them on better teams, they would probably perform better. But I mean, there really isn't much else to say other than the fact that Blake Bortles just hasn't really performing like he needs to perform in terms of the statistics that actually matter to winning football games. So we're going to be looking at that information as well. Now, to familiarize you with some of the information we'll be presenting today, we're going to be looking at high school production scores. High school production score, for those that aren't familiar, is where you take the touchdown to interception ratio compared to peers in high school level, the completion percent, compared to peers at the high school level, and then you basically look at all that information. This is to the 2004 recruiting class, specifically the 2007 NFL draft class. But basically, you look at the touchdown to interception ratio, completion percentage, you compare it to all the peers, and you give a score from 0 to 100, and the thresholds are built by how past players perform. So how did the long-term starters perform? How did the Pro Bowl starters perform in terms of high school production? And that's basically what the high school production score is. We're also going to look at the FBS production score. The only difference between the FBS production score and the high school production score is strength of schedule. So the FBS stat score takes into account touchdown to interception ratio, completion percentage compared to peers at the FBS level based on a 10-year sample size. But it also takes into account strength of schedule. So how tough was your competition? How good were your statistics based on the level of competition you were playing at the FBS level? And that strength of schedule score is also derived from College Football Reference. If you're not familiar with strength of schedule, how it's formulated, you could just go to College Football Reference, type in strength of schedule, and it should give you information on how that score is made and calculated and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to look at that stuff, and we're also going to look at NFL stuff for Blake Bortles. And with all that stuff out of the way, let's get to Blake Bortles in terms of how he looked like in high school, how he looked like in terms of college, and then, of course, how he looked like in the NFL. So starting with Blake Bortles in terms of his high school production score and FBS production score, he had an 84.91 high school production score. Based on my data since the 2007 NFL draft class in terms of the quarterbacks that were drafted from there until now, 100% of long-term starting quarterbacks based on the data had at least a 69 or higher in terms of high school production. Pro Bowl quarterbacks had at least an 84 or higher when it comes to high school production. So based on Blake Bortles' high school production, he had at least Pro Bowl potential based on his high school production coming out of college. So that is one positive mark for Blake Bortles coming out, is he had at least Pro Bowl threshold, at least a Pro Bowl threshold potential in terms of his high school production coming out of college. Where his issues, kind of show up is with his FBS stat score. He had a 74.49 FBS stat score. 100% of long-term starting quarterbacks since 1958 had at least a 26 or higher FBS stat score. And this is guys like Jake Delhomme and who's some other sort of Jeff Garcia, but this is basically those types of guys. So we're talking like bare minimum long-term starters, guys that didn't really hit high-quality outcomes, but they were long-term starters. And then also the Pro Bowl threshold for FBS stat score is 80 or higher. Now, the majority of college quarterbacks since 1958 hit at least 80 or higher. The quarterbacks who became Pro Bowlers and did not hit the 80 or higher threshold were Matt Hasselbeck, Brett Favre, and Drew Bledsoe. So there's only been 3 quarterbacks. It's specifically talking about Blake Bortles. There's only been 3 quarterbacks because Michael Vick had about 2 points higher than Blake Bortles. So about 4 quarterbacks, which is about 90% of all the multiple Pro Bowl quarterbacks since 1958, hit at least 80 or higher, and the ones who didn't were all the guys I just mentioned, which is not a ton. I mean, it's only 4 quarterbacks since 1958. That's 4 quarterbacks in the last 50 years almost. And when it comes to Blake Bortles, although he did hit the long-term starting threshold, he did not hit the Pro Bowl threshold indicative of a high-quality NFL player, which is concerning. I mean, he definitely hit the high school production score of a potential high-quality player, but he did not hit the production score of a multiple Pro Bowl quarterback. And because of that, it really clouds sort of he would have to become an outlier in order to be a high-quality NFL player. And that is kind of the issue of Blake Bortles. That's kind of the crux of his issue is he just comes off more as someone who, if he was to become a high-quality NFL player, he would have to become an outlier. And that's not something that you want to draft top 10. That's definitely something that you would probably draft like day 2 or day 3 even. But this is not the type of quarterback that you take with a very, very highly prized draft pick. That just isn't, it's not what you do. And then when you actually look at his NFL production, despite the fact what people may have told you, Blake Bortles has not really been the best NFL quarterback, which I don't know, shouldn't be surprising. But based on his data at the NFL level, if you just look at all the tables here, this is how he's performed so far. When you actually look at his data compared to quarterbacks who win a lot of wins, so just so you're familiar with this, 90 or higher wins means 90 percentile or higher wins. This is quarterbacks who win 13, 14, 15 wins since 2002. Bye weeks. These are like dominant football teams. You know, the teams that basically sweep everybody for the most part and then end up getting a bye week. 80 or higher wins is teams that typically win the division. These are like 11-win teams, 12-win teams, 10-win teams, and these are teams that typically win the division, go to the playoffs consistently, is 80 or higher wins. And then 50 or higher wins is 8-8, 500 average quarterback play or higher in terms of wins. And this looks at what the average production stats are for guys who win 90 or higher wins, 80 or higher wins, and 50 or higher wins. And when you look at Blake Bortles, he has not had a single season in terms of his statistics where he hit 50 or higher wins in terms of the average for 50 or higher wins. He's never hit the average in terms of 80 or higher wins, nor has he hit the averages in terms of 90 or higher wins. And not only that, his third down percentage, in terms of third down conversion percentage, has been completely awful. He had 8.98 in 2014, a 23.17 in 2015, and a 24.22 in 2016. His third down conversion rate has been abysmal, and when you actually compare the third down conversion rate for 50 percentile higher win quarterbacks, 80 percentile higher or higher win quarterbacks, and 90 percentile higher win quarterbacks, he's not even close to the averages that quarterbacks who win that many games actually perform. And this is a big issue because this is his third season in the NFL, his fourth season actually this year, and he's not performed. He's not had a breakout. He's not had any sort of growth. He actually regressed in his third year. And I know what some people are going to say, well, quarterbacks take time to develop and this or that, and he's on a bad team, but when you look at quarterbacks like, okay, these are two big examples I usually point to. Troy Aikman and Drew Brees. Drew Brees and Troy Aikman were two quarterbacks that in the first 2 years of their career were on bad teams and performed badly. And eventually they had a big breakout year in their third season. You know, this is Troy Aikman, and then of course this is Drew Brees. But the problem is Blake Bortles is past that point. You know, this is his fourth season in the NFL. And he didn't have the Troy Aikman breakout. He didn't have the Drew Brees breakout. He has all of his data, you know, based on his data coming out of college. He looks like a quarterback that doesn't have a very high chance of becoming a high-quality NFL player because the majority of high-quality NFL players performed much better than he did in college. So there's lots of things compiling here to say that things aren't going to end well with Blake Bortles. And I never really want to come to that conclusion because I get a lot of negatives or, you know, a lot of hate from people when I make sort of that statement that, well, bad things are probably going to happen here. You know, people like to hear good things about their teams, which is fine. But when you actually look at the data with Blake Bortles and you look at how he's performed in the last 3 seasons, it has been dreadful. And even the year that he supposedly had a big year, a big breakout year, statistically speaking, it wasn't that great either. I mean, his 2015 season, while he may have put up a ton of stats in terms of yardage and stuff like that, his actual completion percentage was below average. His yards per attempt was kind of his adjusted yards per attempt was meh. His quarterback rating was terrible. His win percentile in terms of how many wins he won that year was bad. And not only that, his third down percentage, which is crucial. You know, if a quarterback is kind of in terms of his touchdown to interception ratio and all that other kind of stats, but he's not good in terms of third down conversions, you know, like, you can disregard the yardage a quarterback puts up. You can disregard a lot of things, but you can't disregard third down conversion rates because third down conversion rates are crucial to winning football games, to converting, to keeping the offense going. And Blake Bortles has not improved in that area at all in his entire career. I mean, he went from having one of the worst third down conversion rates to one of the less worse third down conversion rates. I mean, it's just not good. So this is a huge year for Blake Bortles. I can't stress this enough. I mean, I will give him a pass that he didn't have the Troy Aikman and Drew Brees breakout year because the Jaguars are a bad football team. I mean, there's no way around it. They have defensive issues. They have offensive issues. They definitely have lots of skill position players, and I'm not denying that. But they do have some offensive line issues, you know, and there's a lot of stuff to talk about. There's a lot of stuff that I know I'm going to get stuff in the comment section about, you know, all the reasons why he isn't performing. But the bottom line is, enough is enough, guys. Either he puts up the types of numbers indicative of a winning football team or he doesn't. And every single high-quality quarterback eventually starts to get above water. You know, every single one. Even the Troy Aikmans and Drew Brees, like I just showed you, they got above water in their third season. Blake Bortles, I mean, this is it. You know, if he can't get above water in his fourth season, then when is he ever going to get above water? So, the bottom line is I just don't see things ending that well for him based on his NFL production up to this point. We'll see what happens this year, but I think after the fourth year, if nothing meaningful happens, if he continues to put up the third down conversion rate he does, if he continues to put up the types of statistics he's been putting up in the last 3 seasons, then I think that's it. I think you need to move on. You need to get a better quarterback, and just do it. You know, because there doesn't seem to be much improvement here, and much potential to improve because of some of the issues of him coming out. You know, this wasn't a perfect quarterback prospect coming out. This is someone that had to become an outlier to become a high-quality NFL player. And so far, he's not living up to potential outlierness. He's living up more to kind of ness. So again, my name is James Coburn. You can find my work at draftcoburn.wordpress.com. You can also follow me on Twitter at Geometrics. And if you like this content and you want more content like this, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Share this video as well with anybody that you know, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Peace.